The Tuesday Trek. The sun hadn't even thought about rising yet, but the house was already humming. It was a Tuesday, a day of complex logistics and quiet strength. Figaro, the gray-brown tabby, wove a figure 8 around the wheels of the big chair, his tail a gentle whip against the metal. Fatima sat tall, her breath a bit rattly from the cold she was fighting. She couldn't tell her parents how the mucus felt like a heavy curtain in her throat, but her eyes, wide and expressive, followed Figaro's every move. Outside, the thermometer clung stubbornly to 26 degrees. The world was a canvas of frost and biting air. Gulson and Levent worked in a synchronized dance they had perfected over 24 years. They checked the oxygen, the emergency bags, and the thick blankets. Levent pulled on his heavy coat, his breath blooming in white puffs as he prepped the van's ramp. Gulson zipped her jacket tight, bracing for the chill that awaited them beyond the front door. The trip to the new gastroenterology clinic felt longer than usual. The heater in the van struggled against the freezing morning. Inside the clinic, the air was sterile and sharp. Fatima sat in her chair, her head tilted back slightly as she navigated the discomfort of her lingering cold. Gulson kept a firm hand on the wheelchair's handle, a silent anchor in the sea of white walls and hushed voices. The waiting room was a challenge. Fatima's cough was wet, and the dreaded gagging began, a side effect of the stubborn mucus. Levent was ready, immediately producing a blue plastic basin and a stack of wipes. He moved with a quiet, practiced urgency, blocking the view of other patients to give Fatima her dignity. He whispered words of encouragement, his hand steady even as the familiar stress of a public episode tightened his chest. Amidst the chaos of the clinic, Fatima had a single, focused mission. She knew her water bottle was tucked somewhere in the depths of the black bag hanging from her chair. She reached back, her fingers brushing the fabric, searching for the familiar cool plastic. Gulson watched her closely, caught between wanting to help and needing to monitor the gagging. "Just a tiny sip, Fatima," Gulson whispered. "We have to be so careful." They were finally called back to the exam room. The space was cramped, barely leaving enough room for the wheelchair and the medical equipment. Levent maneuvered the chair into the corner, mindful of the computer monitors and the narrow door. Fatima shifted, her eyes scanning the new environment. She was exhausted from the morning's physical strain, her body tense against the constraints of the chair and the lingering fatigue of her illness. The door opened, and Nadira, the physician assistant, stepped in. She had a kind face and a clipboard brimming with digital files. Gulson immediately began the history, a condensed, high-speed version of 24 years of surgeries, medications, and milestones. Every second mattered. Nadira listened intently, her pen poised, absorbing the weight of Fatima's complex journey through Gulson's rapid but precise words. Levent chimed in, detailing the recent struggle with the cold and the vomiting. He explained how the developmental delays and cerebral palsy made even a simple respiratory infection a high-stakes battle. Nadira watched him, seeing not just the medical data, but the exhaustion etched into his features. He spoke with the authority of a man who had become a nurse, a therapist, and an advocate all at once. Nadira knelt down to Fatima's level, looking her in the eye instead of talking over her. She saw the resilience there. "You've had a long morning, haven't you, Fatima?" she said softly. Then she looked up at the parents. "For the follow-ups, we can do this via video. You shouldn't have to brave 26 degrees in waiting rooms for a check-in." The suggestion felt like a heavy weight lifting off the room. The journey home felt shorter. The sun was out, though the air remained crisp. Back in the safety of their living room, the heater clicked on with a comforting whir. Fatima was back in her favorite spot, the stress of the clinic fading. Figaro immediately reclaimed his post, purring loudly as he settled near her feet. Gulson sat nearby, finally letting her shoulders drop. knowing the next visit would happen right here, in the warmth.